Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle channel. It is another wrestler interview special, and we do like our women's wrestling on this channel, as people that watch it will know. And we are joined by a former TNA Knockout champion, along with many other accolades. And now, as we've just spoken briefly off air, about to open a food truck. We welcome ODB. Bam! Welcome to the show.
Yeah, bam, bitches. What's going on?
How are you doing?
I am good. I am good.
Excellent. It's so nice to have you on, and thank you for taking your time out of your morning/afternoon over in the States to come on. What's the weather like over there to begin with?
Well, actually, I live in Minnesota,
Uh-huh.
and actually, our winter actually was awesome this year. We could have actually probably food trucked out winter, but I wanted 4 months off. But it's been great, except for this day. Of course, it's 19 degrees, but what's 19 degrees to the Minnesotians? So, but it's been good. I like the cold. I actually don't mind it.
Oh, you'd be all right living over here in England then. You're
Right?
perfect living. Yeah, we've had quite a bad winter actually. No, say bad. We haven't had any snow, but it's been rain and wind, and we had like my son's trampoline flew across the garden one day a couple of months back. We had to tape it up to the fence in the end because it would have probably gone in the sea somewhere where I live if it had carried on. But yeah, so bad winter over here for us. But yeah, if you like the cold, come here, you'll be fine.
Right.
Let's talk some TNA. Now, obviously, TNA, there's obviously been some changes recently that's come out, and we won't really
There's
get.
always been changes
Yeah,
in TNA,
there's
right?
always been a lot of changes. Yeah, but
Good or
over the
bad.
last few years, as you sort of, it's dipped in and out. We've over here in the UK as well. We really had the great partnership with TNA. Then we lost it. We didn't have the chat. Wasn't available to us anymore, and now it is again. And the last couple of years, it's gone on this real sort of upward curve. I don't know how much you've seen of it, but do you
Yeah.
feel like, although you're not there, but it is gone on an upward trajectory in the right motion?
Well, yeah, I think TNA is always, I mean, I've been there. I've been there since the beginning, since
Yeah.
the fairground days, since, Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett, and I love watching it grow. And right now it did kind of suck this, it was on Spike TV years ago, and shit, over 10 years ago. Damn, that's crazy. And they have great talent. I mean, there's still people that I worked with that are still on TNA, and I love seeing that they're still just passionate and trying to, just get it bigger, and they got the talent, and it sucks about the whole Scott D'Amore
Mm.
and uh leaving, and but the talent has to stick together. It's part of wrestling. Management changes all the time. So like all that talent that's there right now, they just need to stay focused and put on a good product, and see what happens. Don't get all, I'm gonna leave because this happened. Suck it up. Suck
Yeah.
it up. Go.
Indeed. And you look at it now, I mean, now like Nick Nemeth has not long David or Dolph Ziggler, depending on people.
Yeah.
He's just come in, and Ali is now going. He's actually just come back from the UK. He was here a couple of weeks ago. But it goes to show that the bigger stars that get, say, released from the WWE and AEW want to go there. So it's still a positive thing, you know?
Yes, and the thing too, and I think they have to look at too some of the original TNA people that are still, there. Frankie Kazarian
Yep.
is one of them, and you gotta, make sure you take care of those originals at TNA, not just because you had a WWE. Like, I was never in the WWE.
No.
I don't have that name. I'm just an original TNA knockout, that, bopped around afterwards, but never have that, name, to me at WWE. So like, I do love when a lot of the WWE people come over, because a lot of the women came over, like Lisa Marie,
Yep.
Mickey James, Gail, and it was awesome seeing all those girls helping our division. And now they're some of my best friends. But yeah, never forget about those originals though, just because they have a WWE stamp on them.
Exactly. You got to remember the likes of even AJ Styles, who was one of the
Yeah.
guys that started Samoa Joe. They're still doing great things, but they were originals. Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, Lex
Yep.
Slipper, and people
Yeah.
like that were doing it at the start. But one of the things that TNA did do early on, and people do credit wrongly the WWE for the women's revolution. But in fact, you go way back to 04, 05, Awesome Kong, Gal Kim, yourself, you say Lisa Marie, Mickey James. It started in TNA. That's where it began.
Yeah.
And did you feel that when they started giving you those moments, and it seems easy, doesn't it? Great wrestlers, give them time, matches, long for time in matches, and storylines, and you create the magic that the men can do in sometimes, most times that's better than what they can do.
Yes, I think like Dutch Mantel and Vince Russo. Vince Russo was my guy because he wrote all my stuff, and me and him worked very good together. And it's just awesome. You have the beautiful people, Kong, Gail coming in, and Tracy Brooks, and you just get all of us, and because we all worked the indies together, we all traveled the roads, slept in truck stops, which we probably shouldn't have, being single women back in the day, stopping at a truck stop. Probably not the safest thing for us nowadays, but it's just awesome to see that. I think, and I wasn't even thinking back then. I'm like, you know what? We're just doing what we fucking love. We're, finally getting paid a little bit and still doing the indies. And it was just fun. They gave us so much time to create characters. And I mean, when I was there, I got a talk show. I got to go after the title, but when I wasn't involved in the women's division, they put me in different storylines with the guys, and I was always, pitching ideas and stuff. And I was having a blast, and working, like when they gave us time with all the girls, like the beautiful people, for instance, they had their own thing going on. And it was just awesome because obviously me and them were so different. And then when you put us all together, it made some good segments and the highest rated segments most of the time.
Exactly that, and you did credit Vince Russo. We had Vince Russo on actually, wait, actually when we first, he was our first guest.
Oh
Vince,
wow.
about a year ago. Yeah, he was the first guest, and he gets a bad rep in a lot of
Yeah.
places, but he's actually in a lot of ways, well, in many ways, he is a genius in his own right because he does create. Yes, he can pitch about a million ideas, but the
Right.
ones that make it are generally revolutionary, and the women in TNA was part of that.
Well, Vince is odd. Like I used to just bust his balls all the time, like get him with these nuts jokes, and he's like, "God damn it, ODB!" But he did get me. I do have to tell a little story. He
Oh,
did get me when I was doing the talking trash with ODB, and he got me. And it was Homicide was one of my guests. And when we filmed that, we filmed it in the morning, and we would just have fun with it. Sometimes I'm like, "What are what are we talking about? Like, I have no idea where we're going with this, whatever," but it just worked out. And me and Homicide had great chemistry, just like bullshit and stuff. And then we had a bottle of Jägermeister, which I used to drink. I can't drink that shit anymore. And then there was a bottle of Jack Daniels, I think, or tequila, one of those. And he grabbed one and I grabbed the Jaeger, and we both like, "Yeah, cheers." Well, I wasn't thinking there was actually shit in it. And we're like, "Ugh," and I'm like, "Holy," and we both spit it out. And Vince is like, "Yep, that's a wrap." And I'm like, "Thanks, Vince." So yeah, he got us good on that.
got you good on the Jaeger. The Jägermeister's great. There's a thing over here. I don't know if you guys do it. It was called a reverse Jaeger. So if we had, so you used to have, obviously, it's like a Red Bull and Jaeger, the drink. But
Yeah.
if you do it the other way, it's more Jaeger than Red Bull. So it's a
Oh,
reverse Jaeger. It's a bit
yeah.
like one of Vince Russo's like reverse battle royals, reverse Jaeger bomb. Should get him with that. You should get him with that. But you actually had a few spells at TNA as well. When you did win the on Knockouts title eventually, like for you, was that like a crowning moment when they say to you, you're winning that title? There is a prestige about it, and there is that kind of also a bit of added pressure because you are the person that they're pinning that title on to be the face of the company.
Well, when I finally got an opportunity to get it, I'm like, well, it's about freaking time. Like, Jesus Christ. I think everyone had it. But I was always, and I knew this, I was, obvious, but we all were so different, but yet I was more the character you pretty much never seen, and I wasn't afraid to do anything. Like I got my hand slapped a few times, got told not to do this, whatever. And and when I got the title, I was like, "God damn, it's about time I can represent this, the women's division and keep going." But I do remember the last time I held the title, it was me and Mickey James.
Yeah.
won the title because she was going away, and our storyline ended short because she was going back to WWE. And I remember I was, and I dropped it, I think, at a Bound for Glory to Gail, Kim, and Brooke Adams. We did a 3-way. And
Yeah.
I dropped it. So I had the title for like 3 weeks or so. I remember walking back into the hotel lobby, and Kurt Angle was there. He's like, hell of a run, ODB, hell of a run. I was like, shut up. Like, yeah. And then like a month later, I was gone from the company. So yeah.
You still had the run. That's the main thing. You
Yeah.
had the title, which is the main thing. But we go back to women's wrestling now, and you see the likes of even like Jade Cargill now. You see, she's gone to WWE and not quite debut. You look at the people now, and if ODB was still in there now, who would be the people you'd be pitching to go against?
I know, right? Damn. Oh God, like I would love to be like Charlotte Flair.
Hmm.
She's just good all around. She's good on the mic. She's good technical wrestler and good character. And Rhea Ripley, obviously. Sasha Banks, I would have loved to have gotten in the ring with. Natty, of course, I worked with her in OVW.
Hmm.
And just yeah, because man, nowadays, because it's so like when I was trying to get in WWE after, the TNA days or even before TNA days
Yeah.
when I was in OVW, I was just never their type. Johnny Ace is like, no, not interested. I'm like, whatever. Well, now I knew what was going on back then, so I guess it all worked out. So, but but nowadays I'm like, God damn, I'm like, I would totally fit into this era. And then I was out, always told that my name was brought up a few times in the Royal Rumble, but someone kept knocking it down. But just seeing and talking about the Royal Rumble, seeing like Jade come out,
Hmm.
holy shit, the crowd went nuts. And she looks fun. She looks like $1,000,000. Like you look at her and you're like, damn, you're a star. You have it.
Yeah.
And she showed up and she did phenomenal. And then just getting goosebumps talking about it. And then watching Jordan Grace, because I didn't know. I got a little iggy beforehand, but she showed up. The whole crowd chanting Tina, and she came in with the knockout title. I was like, damn. And she did a hell of a job. Like, and watching those two come in, I'm like, those are stars. Because then you have some of the girls that are in WWE, they're on the main roster, but not really given a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's like they come out and no one really cares about them. But then you got these other two that aren't even in the company yet. Bam, show up. I'm like, you know what? I would fire 2 people and put those 2 girls on the main roster.
Yeah, I literally said the word. We reviewed the Royal Rumble, and I said if WWE don't sign Jordan Grace the next time they have a chance, there is something
Right?
wrong.
She's
She is the
young. She
package.
looks phenomenal. She's very disciplined. And no, I'm like, go for it. I mean, she's just so crisp in the ring, and working with her, she was just very, yeah,
They got a
very
big
talented.
reception. They were doing Royal Rumble watch parties in London of that, and when her music hit, the crap you could see. I think they've seen. I think they put it out there. It went They went absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
And Jade, to be fair, you're right. Jade
Yep.
got a huge reaction, but obviously now Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks, as you said, seemingly going to be joining AEW. Now with their women's division, they've got some strong characters in there as well. They've got a lot of what are the younger up and comers, like a Julia Hart, for example, who's portraying that sort of darkish character. And again, it goes back to what we said before: the characters, the timing, the women. They've got a great roster there, and I still don't quite think it's being utilized right. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know what you feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, like with AEW, you got Diana, you got Taya, like and Thunder Rosa, you got some awesome talent, Tony Storm and Soraya. Like it's there. They need more TV time for the women. And then I don't agree. Like then you got the Ring of Honor, and then you got Ronda Rousey showing up with her girl. Like you got that's a big name.
Yeah,
Like I would just, I still catch wrestling,
yeah,
here and there, and it's just like Ronda Rousey showed up on Ring of Honor and you didn't make a big deal about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like that should have been like freaking huge, you know? I mean, my mind's going. I'm like, oh damn, to get in the ring with Ronda Rousey. I'm like, and it's just like, and to get back in the ring with Diana and Taya and all those girls, I'm like, oh man, that's
Interesting one because they done AEW last year done the Continental Classic, or the C2 as we called it, and they had like 12 great athletes, and they should do a women's one. I think
Ooh, yeah.
they've got the talent there, and there's needs to seemingly more. Again, there was reports coming out that WWE may be putting a women's intercontinental title out there as well. They've got the tags and the. Do you think they should have? Because you've got the men's, you've got the US, the intercontinental, you've got 2 world titles wherever you go. Should there be more world championships for the women in AEW and the WWE and TNA maybe?
Yeah, you don't want to make it too big because then they're not special.
Yeah.
It would be cool, like, back in the territory days, where they went everywhere with that title, and it meant something. Nowadays, I feel like it's getting flopped around too much in a way, but I think the women are good with the 2 titles in WWE. You got the Raw and SmackDown women's, and then you got the tag titles. I'm glad they're starting to do more stuff with the tag titles, but yeah, I mean, just keep it, I think, like that, and then
You're a big fan of like the longer reign. I mean, you talk about say like Roman Reigns, for example, who's held the title for 3 years, going on, could be 4, depending on how he gets on this in a couple of weeks. But does it make more of it now? Like, as you say, the titles were passed around quite a bit, but seemingly a bit more so in the WWE, they're seeming to be sticking on a few. Like, Gunther has had it for 600 days in the Continental title. Roman Reigns. It makes those titles more prestigious because when they lose, it's more of a big deal.
Right? I like that because sometimes you're like, who's the champion? You don't even know who the champion is sometimes when it switches so much. But Roman Reigns, I mean, that storyline has been great. Sometimes you thought it was gonna die a little bit, but then it just got it right back up, and you have the right people to feud with them. I think it's great, and I think it makes for a better storyline when they keep them longer.
Yeah.
But that person has to also do their part where, you gotta do your part of getting your character over. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, here's a title, and then they don't really do much or they don't defend it. But with Roman Reigns, yes, but he plays it good. He's like, yeah, I work half what you guys do, so I would, and you're gonna hate him more for that. Like he's not a fighting champ, but then you got Seth Rollins that is, but it's just it's good TV.
And now he's got The Rock with him.
Now he got The Rock. Hell yeah, that's always gonna be. That's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be.
It is.
Will Cody finish his story?
Will he, ODB? Will Cody finish his story?
I hope so because he need. Yeah, I just don't. I just hope they don't like. I look at how like Sami Zayn, he had this big hype. He got over so much, and then he just didn't get it. And then it's like, did that hurt him a little bit? But then he came up back with him and Kevin Owens, and just like. But with Cody, he's still fighting. Like everything they, threw at him. Him and Brock Lesnar, holy shit. Like that was phenomenal. Like that was legit some good stuff. But I think that worked out for Cody though,
I always said it was like a book and chapters with him. Like Seth was a chapter, Brock was a chapter, and then actually Roman maybe was the first chapter, and then Seth was the first chapter, then it went to Roman, then it detoured away to come back to chapter 2 in his case, which is Roman. And will he finish the story? You want him to. I'm not sure. I don't even think the WWE are ready for them to drop Roman.
Right. Roman. He's going to Hollywood, isn't he? He's going to Hollywood. Shit.
Well, there's no doubt at one point he'll be going to Hollywood. Yeah. Let's switch away from wrestling now quickly before we start to wrap up. A food truck. Tell us all about this. Where did it all come about? What was the whole idea about it?
Oh boy. Well, it was after I left TNA 2014, got out of my contract. I was like, shit, I guess I'm leaving wrestling. Then I had an Airstream trailer I was roaming around the country with. So it's 2014. And so a couple years, I had my own barbecue sauce. So I worked with a company. I had my own recipe. It's a whiskey barbecue and a whiskey hot sauce. So I went around traveling to bike rallies, Sturgis Daytona Bike Week, Daytona 500. Like I did all this stuff promoting my sauces. And then one day, someone's like, you should do a food truck. I'm like, huh? So in 2016, I moved to Daytona Beach, and I worked with Jimmy Hart at his bar. So I was basically running the place. So I got to, promote my sauces. I got to promote the bar, and it was hanging out with Jimmy Hart for a good year and a half. It was pretty damn cool. Like, that was pretty badass. That was a good experience. And then my good friends Nick Aldis and Mickey James wanted to talk to me about, doing the food truck business together. I just didn't have the money back then to really get started. So then we had a meeting at their house around a bonfire, and they're like, it was basically they were my Shark Tank. So they invested in me, and then 2017 I launched just the meet and greet food truck in Daytona, so in the Florida area. And after not even a year maybe, I decided, hey, if we're gonna stay friends, I think I'm gonna buy you guys out and do the food truck thing myself. They agreed. That was all great. And then I brought it back to Minnesota and named it ODB's Meet and Greet and put my mug on the face. It was a little trailer. And then after the trailer, I decided, well, let's get a bigger one. So I got the Mac Daddy big food truck that we still have. And now I've had it, this will be the 8th season. Then we also have other one. So I got married. So now my husband, we do the food trucks together. So we've been doing the food trucks for 3 years now together. And so now it's called Big Al and ODB's Meet and Greet. So we have a food truck, then we also have a smokehouse trailer. So we run from like March to November in Minnesota. And we're based in Minnesota only. I know I've been here and there a little bit with them, but I'm excited, and it keeps growing. And I never knew, I was like, shit, this is pretty badass. Because it's a meet and greet. It's literally, even if you don't know who I am, when I'm at an event, you see the ODB, people are like, ODB, that sounds familiar. And then they see me, they're like, oh, you're actually on your truck? I'm like, yeah, this is this is me. And it's awesome. Like I'm still in the eye, still, my wrestling days are not over quite yet. But the food truck does keep me busy, and I love it. We go to big concerts, like like this year, I think we have a Brooks and Dunn concert. We have a New Kids on the Block, Paula Abdul concert coming up. Like we go big. And Willie Nelson, I think we have will be food trucking at his concert. Yep.
Wow, amazing stuff. We need to, well, keep posting the pictures of it, because we like to see it over here. We love to see that sort of stuff. But you did mention that one little point. You did say that your wrestling career isn't quite over yet.
No. Well, you see me, I'm in my office. I've been kind of still doing this, my old wedding dress I got married in. My original
Yeah.
outfits I will not wear again. Those are my original TNA outfits. Those are, I don't
Wow.
even think I washed them from the 10 years ago I wore them. My first wrestling boots. So that stuff is not getting out those hangers, but I've been training hard. I don't know if you can see, I've been training a little harder these times.
Yeah.
But just changing up. I'm 45 years old. I started, I got back in the ring for a local promotion a few months back and loved it. I worked with some of the girls, and Miss Kate from Minnesota, and then Rachel Elring. Got to team up with her, and I had a blast. I mean, I don't think I missed a step. Like, how hard is it to go bam? And I haven't tried my kip up in a few years, but but everyone does the kip up. I don't need to do the kip up anymore. But I wouldn't. Hey, never say never, right? So.
Never said we need to hear that at the Royal Rumble one. Yeah, we see. I know you said that your name was mentioned and it got cabamoed, but we need to hear it. At least one Royal Rumble. We need to hear that when that buzzer goes off. And
oh damn, awesome! Be like, bam! But my goal, though, my dream would be to drive my food truck into an arena.
Be like Austin in the beer truck.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there. Yep, the pork truck is coming.
So Tony,
I hear that Tony Khan. Hey, come on, buddy. Yeah, that'd actually be a perfect fit for me. AEW. That would be. I think I would. He would let me just be me, do my thing, and
he probably would, to be fair.
Fix it. So
well, he did say that he was interested in the free agent market. So you are.
I just haven't put my name out there quite yet. Everyone thinks, she has her food truck out, she's doing that, she's too busy to. Hey, I got people working the food truck now. I got I can hop off.
ODB has some time, Tony.
Yeah, I always got time.
What to do is reach out. We want to see ODB at least one more run, at least one more run.
One more run.
One more run. She still got it. She doesn't, she misses it. She got in there. She went toe to toe. She can still go, right?
I might have to get a new pair of wrestling boots because last time I wore my wrestling boots, I saw my sock through my boot. So I don't know. And I don't want to be using no duct tape. I don't want to be, a grizzled old vet coming in.
No, definitely not. But we
You got to
do
give me a little heads up so I can order a new pair of custom boots.
exactly that. Get some custom boots. Tony Khan, get on the phone.
Yeah.
For ODB. We want to see one more run with ODB, but we are going to let you go now. But before we do that, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, where they can find information about the food truck and whatever else you're up to.
Yeah, I'm big on social media. I do the Instagram, I do the Twitter and Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. It's at the ODB BAM. And then just look up Big Al and ODB's meet and greet food truck. Just Google it. Everything pops up. And in case you guys didn't know, I did write a book.
Wow.
A year ago. So you can go to my website, odbsmeetandgreet.com, and get my book. I wrote this, oh my God, it's been out for a year now. And I always wanted to write a book. So I reached out to my good friend Mick Foley, and that was like it was during 2020.
Okay.
And I reached out to him. I invited him to the food truck, fed him, and chatted with him, and he hooked me up with one of his publishers, Kenny Casanova. So me and him worked probably a good year. We got this bitch out, and I love it's not a sad story because I don't really have a sad story. It's just about stop being a little bitch and be a dirty bitch in life, so it's awesome. I only tell one person to go F themselves in my book.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know who it would be, but yeah.
Could have a few ideas. But go and definitely order the book. Wrestlers' books are great. I've got loads of them, and they're such great. If you're into the business,
we all have different stories, and some are stories you don't really want to hear, but that's the dark side of the ring for you. You can watch those.
Yes.
And every time I watch those, I love them. They do a great job, but I'm like, let's do a fucking like kick-ass side of the ring, where you see people actually, you have a career in wrestling, but you actually do something with it. Like me with the food truck. Like I did something with the ODB brand and made a freaking food truck.
Exactly. It should be called fun side of the ring or light side of the
not
ring.
the dark, because you feel like depressed. You feel like, oh god damn, I gotta have a drink after this or do something. Like it's just like god damn.
Yeah, they are. Some of those stories are heavy.
I guess,
Yeah, some of those stories are heavy, to be fair. I do agree. We're going to wrap up now, but just quickly before I do, congratulations to Aluna over here in the UK. She became the Hit in the Turnbuckle Women's Champion a couple of weeks ago. Smashing Mike retained the Hit in the Turnbuckle Men's Championship a couple of weeks ago against former WWE star Eddie Dennis. So congratulations to those two. Coming up, though, we've got our own show. Yes, we're going to be sponsoring a full show of wrestling in July called Buckle Up. The Men's Hit in the Turnbuckle Championship will be on the line. Opponents to be determined, I believe, in April. So keep an eye out on our socials for that. But coming up on this show next week, we are talking to the one-man band, Heath Miller or Heath Slater, whoever you want to, whatever he wants to go by. We're talking some TNA as well as WWE. We've also announced today that we'll be talking to Devon Dudley coming very soon as well. And somebody that's crossed over from the UFC to wrestling, Mr. Ken Shamrock will be joining us on the show very, very soon as well. But ODB, it has been an absolute pleasure. The time has whizzed talking to you.
Well, thank you so much. I don't do a lot of podcasts much anymore, so it was nice to chit chat with you.
Get back in the saddle on the podcast. You're great. It's been a great interview. It's 30 minutes has flown by. I could have talked to you for longer,
right?
But thank you so much. We'll look forward to hearing more about the food truck and everything else, and hopefully see you back in the ring soon. Ladies and gentlemen, she has been ODB. I have been your host, Adam Cousins. Bam. And this has been the Hit in the Turnbuckle channel. Until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.